Well, hello there. My name is Jeff Cloud. I'm with Crossroads Reentry Ministries. And the purpose of this DVD is to let you, programmers, case managers, authorities in incarceration facilities, know what we at Crossroads Reentry Ministries have to offer. Crossroads Reentry Ministries, CRM, Crossroads Reentry Ministries. I want to talk to you a little bit today about who am I, who is Crossroads Reentry Ministries. Now, my name is Jeff Cloud. I am a 54-year-old man who has been sober 20 years, and further than 20 years ago in my past, I had a record. Been arrested a couple dozen times way back in the past, over 20 years ago. And by God's grace, I've been sober now for over 20 years. I successfully run this organization, Crossroads Reentry Ministries. We have many teachers who come into incarceration facilities and teach things basically that help people leave behind the incarceration lifestyle. Now, I've been sober 20 years. I'm married now 17, got a 14-year-old daughter, 11-year-old daughter, and most people would say that I'm a successful husband, dad, and leader of Crossroads Reentry Ministries. But what we've done is we've came up with this 501c3 charitable organization back in 2007. Now, I've been doing work in jails and prisons, helping people leave behind the incarceration lifestyle for over 20 years. But our 501c3 was founded, like I said, back in 2007. So Crossroads Reentry Ministries exists for no other reason than to help people leave behind the incarceration lifestyle. We do that with what we call any God-honored need other than legal. We help with any God-honored need other than legal, and I'll talk a little bit more about this further in this DVD. But that gives you a little bit of an introduction to Jeff Cloud, Crossroads Reentry Ministries. Here's our contact information. I'll talk more about that at the end of this DVD, but it's up there on the DVD in case you need it. You can play through any time, see that information, you'll be able to contact us. But the purpose of this DVD is this. We're basically introducing what we have to offer to people in incarceration facilities to prepare them for when they get out to successfully make it on the outside. And again, any God-honored needs other than legal, because we're not lawyers. But to give you an idea, we got hundreds of calls last year from people on the outside. They were not court-ordered to call us, no probation requirements to call us, no reason to call us whatsoever other than we were actually bringing the information that they needed and help that they needed. So those hundreds of calls, 50% of them came in related to getting jobs. About a third of them came in for safe, sober places to stay. And then the other 6 were miscellaneous things. Mr. Cloud, I need transportation. Mr. Cloud, I need IDs. Mr. Cloud, where are the local NA meetings close to where I live, etc. Now, this paints a picture here of what Crossroads Reentry Ministries is about and who we are. Now, you'll notice that Jeff Cloud is very active in the Mecklenburg County jails, multiple jails here in Mecklenburg County, which is Charlotte, North Carolina. Very active teaching substance abuse classes, very active teaching what I call reentry classes, helping people re-enter into society from incarceration facilities. We work with people both on the inside and when they get out. And we encourage people whom we work with on the inside to give us a call when they get out for, again, any of those God-honored needs that they may have. That's your who. Secondly, I'd like to talk a little bit about what. What is this DVD? This DVD is our introduction DVD. We're trying to keep it somewhere around 50 minutes, plus or minus. But in this DVD, we simply want to explain to you what we have to offer that you could use to present to people in incarceration facilities simply by putting a DVD in a DVD player with a TV, and they would be able to get classes, if you will, on various tracks. We've developed 3 tracks. Again, 3 tracks. Those tracks are basically these. Number 1 is the track we call A Job and The Job. That consists of 5 DVDs. Again, A Job and The Job. What it does is it helps people and gives powerful ways that people with records can go get a job or a series of A Jobs. We not only leave it at a job, but we point to the guys down the line, and it may take years once they're out, the job. Now, the job is defined as the one that someone would do for free. They've got so much passion. It combines their passion, experience, talents, and it focuses on what major needs are out there. By combining those, people can walk into the job. But that is going to be one of the tracks is A Job and The Job. That has 5 DVDs. A second track is on sobriety. Of course, those of us that work in incarceration facilities know that one of the greatest needs that people in incarceration facilities have is that they need to get and stay sober. Now, many times the people we are working with don't even realize that. They'll have 96 arrests / convictions, felonies, and every one of them related to drugs, yet if you were asking them if they had a drug problem, they'd say no way. And of course, typically a problem is never solved unless it's first admitted to and of course identified. But basically we bring 8 DVDs on sobriety. So for example, if your group that you work with specializes in getting or staying sober, or you want to add that into your curriculum mix to help guys when they get out, women, youth, it doesn't matter, we work with all groups, then of course sobriety track would be one as well too. So the first track was A Job and The Job, 5 DVDs. The second track is sobriety. There is 8 DVDs. And then the third track is our reentry resources and life skills to help make it on the outside. Again, that third track is what we call our reentry resources and life skills to help make it on the outside. There's 4 DVDs for that one. 4 DVDs total for that one. Now that one would help with such things as how to find safe, sober housing available for somebody who comes out of incarceration facilities. And we help, like I say, hundreds of people per year once they're out, mostly through the phone. When we've helped people before, we've actually helped people multiple cases. Just last year, to give you an example, of people coming out of an incarceration facility in paper clothes. They might have got arrested back in September, the first week when it was hot, had their shorts, t-shirts on, got bloodied up in a fight, and of course what ended up happening is that clothing is considered hazardous waste and can't be stored in an incarceration facility because they don't have a permit to store hazardous waste. So they have to get rid of the man's clothes, and then they give him paper clothes, which are the equivalent of what a doctor would wear, scrub clothes. So he comes out with nothing but that, and we have worked with men like that all the way through, helping them with every need that they had, basically, starting with getting out of jail. Mr. Cloud, I'm hungry, I don't have anything to eat, and I'm in paper clothes. So I think that kind of paints the picture of what we've been able to do. Now, we've taken a look at the who, Jeff Cloud, Crossroads Reentry Ministries, the what, a series of 3 tracks of DVDs. First, we have A Job and The Job, 5 DVDs. Second track is sobriety with 8 DVDs. And then thirdly is what we call our reentry resources and life skills to successfully make it on the outside, 4 DVDs there. Now, Here comes the next question. Why a series of DVDs? Why a series of DVDs? I know of no better way to answer that question than to share with you just some snippets of successes we've been a part of at Crossroads Reentry Ministries. The first one I'd like to share is this. We founded in 2007 here in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. That is Charlotte area of North Carolina. We call it Metrolina area of North Carolina. In Mecklenburg County, our jails since 2007, and we've been a part of this. Please don't take it that we are the sole part. I am not saying that. We have been a part of something amazing that has gone on in Mecklenburg County jails. Namely, 2007, there were 3,000 inmates. The latest count that I've heard, and as this DVD is being put together in the spring of 2014, the number of inmates has dropped down to 1,800 approximately. So if you get those numbers, 3,000 inmates, 2007 down to 1,800 inmates now in 2014, that is a substantial drop, a very substantial drop in the number of people incarcerated. The question is, what has made the difference? I tip the hat to Sheriff Chip Bailey in Mecklenburg County, who came in, being elected in that same time frame, and he came in and basically said this: we're going to bomb the Mecklenburg County Jail with programs. He says all the time, we build character, not jails. And that's what he ended up doing. So he bombed the Mecklenburg County jails with programs. We at Crossroads have been very instrumental part of that. To the best of my knowledge, we're in all program pods, and there's about 7 or 8 of them, maybe more. We're in all of them. That includes youth, 16, 17-year-olds. That includes females. And then, of course, it includes the adult male population. But we've been a part of that, and that is why we want to bring what we've been teaching nationwide. We believe it can help many other places, help people not to come back to jail or prison. Another success that we've had, 2012 in September, I was teaching in a substance abuse pod in the Mecklenburg County Jail, and there was a gentleman who heard our spiel. Give me a call at this number when you get out. We can help with any God-honored needs other than legal. He called that number at 7 o'clock one evening. Now, just between me and you, this is not only the quote-unquote Crossroads Reentry Ministry main number, that also happens to be my cell phone as well. So at 7 o'clock one evening, he calls this number. He gets me 7 o'clock one evening on the phone. Mr. Cloud, I was in substance abuse pod, and I'm ready to get a job. So basically, I go through my normal spiel. Do you have a safe, sober place to stay? He said, yes. I said, do you have your 2 IDs, identifications, Social Security card, and North Carolina ID, North Carolina driver's license? He said, yes, I do. The third thing that I basically asked him was this: do you have transportation to go look for work if I point you in that direction this evening? Yes, sir, Mr. Cloud. I have a bus pass that my family has presented me with for the Charlotte area, so I can get around pretty much anywhere in Mecklenburg County that I need to. I said, you are ready to go after the job. I asked him, do you have an email address? He said, yes. I said, if I email you our 3-page document that works for people with records to get a job, would you be able to print that off? He said, yes, indeed, I can, Mr. Cloud. I sent that to him as soon as I got off the phone. The entire phone conversation took approximately 7 or 8 minutes. Within 5 minutes after getting off the phone, he had a copy of our 3-page Get a Job for People with Records document that works real well. He started working that process, and within 24 hours, Not 24 days, not 24 months, not 24 years. Again, 24 hours. He had a job. Now that is pretty good turnaround time for anybody. We're very proud of those types of things, but you got to remember our entire organization, charitable 501c3 organization, was founded with nothing else but let's help meet the needs of those coming out of jail or prison to make it on the outside. One of the biggies, of course, is a job. So we developed that job document, and we're able to give that out many hundred times a year. 2008, another success story. We had a felon, and back in 2008, we were running what I call a holistic transitional housing ministry, where we got guys coming out of jail or prison. I had to shut that down in late 2008 because I had a heart attack. Didn't have anybody backing me up, but I learned tremendous in that 2 years that we were bringing people out of jail or prison, housing them, helping them get jobs, helping them with different things to make it on the outside. 2008, a guy came to us. The best that I remember, he had dozens, literally dozens of felony arrests / convictions. That's just his felonies. It might have even gotten into hundreds of misdemeanors, but just the felonies I remember. He came to us, and when I sat down with him, when he came to our holistic transitional housing ministry, I explained to him our system for helping people with records get jobs and how important it was going to be for him to get a job. So if he could get a job, start paying part of his own way at the charity there, then we'd be able to bring somebody else in and help them as well too. When he came in, he said, Mr. Cloud, he says, I believe this system works after he saw it. I believe I'm going to have a job the first month. Now, he not only got one full-time job that first month he worked our system, but he got 2 full-time jobs the first month he worked our system. That is pretty successful for somebody that had at least dozens of felony arrests / convictions. Another one that I would like to share with you, a little success snippet, if you will. We work substance abuse as well in the Mecklenburg County jails. One of the things that I'm blessed to do is in substance abuse arenas, one of the primary ways that people get sober is through what's called the 12 steps. The 5th step is a goal that essentially all good treatment programs have to get people through, because if they can get them through that 5th step, study after study has shown that that person has a very great likelihood that they will never recidivate, relapse, whatever you want to call it. So in the Mecklenburg County Jail, we offer guys who will be in my classes every week. They get to know me real well. They realize that what we're bringing is real world help. About 40 men per year in the past several years have done 5th steps with me. Now, 5th step, just to give you an idea, to sum up in a nutshell, is basically telling one other person your deepest, darkest secrets. Now, the old timers in the room of Alcoholics Anonymous have said this for years. We are only as sick as our deepest, darkest secrets. So when a man or a person can tell their 5th step, get those deep, dark secrets out in confidence to one other person, then of course what happens is they get that spiritual, mental, emotional, and even to some degree physical healing. And I've seen it happen in the Mecklenburg County Jail. Not only have I seen it happen, I have tracked it for years. In other words, John Doe does a 5th step with me. He was processed into the Mecklenburg County Jail on January the 1st, 2009. I will do a comp of somebody else in a regular pod, non-substance abuse, non-program, and we'll call him Jimmy Doe. Jimmy Doe was processed the same day. We'll track the two over the years, and what we've discovered by pure statistics is this. If a man does a 5th step with Jeff Cloud in the Mecklenburg County Jail, he is 3.5 times less likely to go back to jail / prison within a year. Now, 3.5 times, how we come with that number? The average person in the Mecklenburg County Jail, 42% chance they will be reprocessed back into the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office system within 1 year. A person who does the 5th step with me, that percentage drops to 12%. So if you do the math, 42% divided by 12% is 3.5. Therefore, a person is 3.5 times less likely to get reprocessed back into the Mecklenburg County Jail if they simply do a 5th step with Jeff Cloud. Now, we are for way more than 5th steps, and I'll talk more about that here in a minute. The last little snippet of success that I'd like to share with you is the roughly 500, 700 calls we got in the last year and the year before and the year before that. The last 2 or 3 years we've been on pace for about 600 calls per year coming in from people mostly when they were out of jail or prison had been released. Now, like I've said, half those calls, Mr. Cloud, I need a job. 1/3 of those calls, Mr. Cloud, I don't have a place to live. I need a safe, sober place to stay. The other 1/6 of those calls could be a gazillion different things. I just got let out. I got paper clothes on. That's all I got. Or, Mr. Cloud, I need to know where the meeting location is for AA, NA, those kind of things. But those several hundred calls a year testify to the power of what we're bringing. If it ain't working on the street ain't going to tell people on the street it's working. And that's basically what's going on. I'll share a quick story with you of how successful we've been. Approximately 1.5 years ago, I started getting calls. Now, what I typically do when I get calls in, where do we at Crossroads Reentry Ministries know you from? And a man might say, Substance Abuse Pod, Mecklenburg County Jail, or Catawba Correctional. I was in the Reentry class. But this time, I got a call, 3 of them actually in a row in about 24 hours. Where do we know you from? Well, Mr. Cloud, you don't know me. I was riding the bus in downtown Charlotte, and there's a man hollering out your name and phone number on the bus. Here's what he was saying. He was hollering out at the top of his lungs, if you need a job, call Jeff Cloud, 704-499-1332. Jeff Cloud, 704-499-1332. These were regular people, no records, calling me for a job because the word on the street was it worked. This man had gotten a job, so he was so excited he was telling everybody on the bus about it. I started getting descriptions from each person who called in, and when I did, it started pointing to one guy. And finally, I realized who it was, and I called him and I told him, I said, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but please realize God has called me to help those coming out of jail or prison. Not everybody in the great state of Mecklenburg, 1 million people in one county, get a job if they happen to be out of a job. So my point being, on the street, what we're bringing works, and people are telling each other on the street. I'm going to say approximately 20 to 25% of the phone calls that come in to us are from people who have been incarcerated but have never sat under our teaching in a class. They simply have heard it from other people by word of mouth that are telling them what went on. So there, so far we've got it. The who, the what, the why. Now I want to revisit what a little bit more. The classes that we're going to have on our DVD, typically they're going to last about 45 to 50 minutes. What that'll enable you to do if you have a 1-hour class set up, gives you time to put the DVD in, get it out at the end, still be able to get everything in, maybe even have 2 or 3 minutes of discussion of what you see in the DVD. But I want to give you a couple little snippets of what will be on the DVDs to pique your interest, if you will. First, I want to talk about a job and the job. A job and the job. What a lot of places do is they point people to advertised jobs. For example, a person with a record. Here's some advertised jobs. It's probably one of the worst places in the world to point somebody to who's got a great big old record. Why? There's 250 people going after 4 positions that have been advertised, and 150 people of those have no record. So you got a man with 12 felonies going against 150 people over here with no record. Probably not a good recipe for success. One of the things we do is we bring about 8 or 10 major tools, we call them, in our A Job and The Job DVD series, and I'll give you an example of one of those tools. Actually, I'm going to give you 2 tools, show 2 of them. The first one's what we call the Association of General Contractors. Now, the Association of General Contractors works like this. I have asked in multiple incarceration facilities while teaching men, how many men in here have had a Social Security wage job, you've received a paycheck, taxes were taken out, with a construction firm. In multiple cases, about 80% of the men raised their hands saying they had had a regular paying construction job at some point in time in their past. Now that's 80%. That means 80% have experience with construction jobs. What goes on with the Association of General Contractors is that many people don't understand how construction firms get their work. If you understand how construction firms get their work, you can do one step in the process and be able to get your information to the right people with a skills resume, and then you're setting yourself up for a much better chance to get a job. Let me explain what I mean by that. The Association of General Contractors typically will be 1 or 2 states. In North Carolina, South Carolina, it's called the Association of General Contractors Carolinas. Now, each contractor that's worth his weight in salt is going to have every bit of their information current and up to date at the Association of General Contractors. Why? That's where they get their job. For example, if the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, formerly called the Department of Corrections, decided to build a major prison facility, they're going to go through the architects and engineers associated with the Association of General Contractors Carolinas. They're going to develop their plans, specifications for a new multi-million-dollar facility, and they will release it for bid one day. And they'll say you got 31 days to get your bid in on this project, Mr. General Contractors. Of course, the general contractors are going to tag their subcontractors, the painting subcontractors, the lighting subcontractors or electrical, the acoustical, etc., so on and so forth, and they're going to get multiple bids from these. Now, they'll compile their bids and they'll turn their bid in, and of course the apparent low bidder will get the project. Now, if you catch that, not only are the general contractors going to have their information current on that site, the subcontractors are too, and that's where they get their work from. All right, so their information is going to be current, kept up to date. What a great place, for example, with a man with a record. Let's make him have a dozen felony arrests / convictions. He has masonry experience. He goes to that website, he develops a skills resume, and he mails it to the 50 plus or minus masonry subcontractors in Mecklenburg County. Stating basically he is looking for work. They have a file right behind their receptionist area. In that file are unsolicited resumes. When the superintendent needs to hire somebody, he goes to that file, he starts calling backwards. Mr. Johnson, are you looking for work still? We got your resume 3 days ago. Yes, sir. Come on in, let's talk tomorrow. Can you be here at 8:30? I think you kind of get the picture of what goes on with the Association of General Contractors and how powerful that would be. We call that getting your corks out in the pond, because you get 150 corks in a pond, you're more than likely going to get a bite, assuming they're all, of course, baited and ready to go. That's one of the major tools with A Job and The Job. A second major tool, we got many of them in the DVD, but a second major tool is what we call the crack house question. Crack house question? What do you mean crack house question? And the guys really roll when they hear the crack house question, because they're not used to a teacher coming up and saying the crack house question. The crack house question rolls like this. Basically, let's say that you have warehousing experience. Okay? You're going to send out your skills resumes to warehouses. The crack house question would work like this. We got 2 warehouses we're considering sending a skills resume to. Family Dollar, which is located headquarters here in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. Huge, international company. And most of you don't have to explain what they provide at Family Dollar stores. All right, that Family Dollar stores, here would be the crack house question. Has anybody with a record, multiple felonies, ever gotten a job at Family Dollar at the warehouse and probably stole something and could successfully trade it to the crack man for a rock of crack cocaine? Well, the answer, of course, would be yes. That means more than likely, a man with a record doesn't need to waste his time going after a warehouse job at Family Dollar. But let's say there's a second warehouse. It's called ABC Plumbing Supplies. It sells 8-inch PVC pipe, and it sells institutional urinals. Those are like those great big urinals inside a coliseum or something where they're going to have a basketball arena, etc. And they sell institutional toilets. The crack house question would say, is anybody with a record ever come to that warehouse, stole a big old piece of 8-inch PVC pipe or a big old institutional urinal, carried it to the crack man and said, here, give me a $10 rock for this urinal? They're going to laugh him out of the crack house. But that's how the crack house question guides the guys in the right direction. How might that look in reality for somebody with painting experience? They may probably want to avoid trying to send their resumes to construction or contractor firms that work in residential houses doing remodeling while the people live there. Why? A person can go in and steal something from somebody's house while they're living there, and thus they're probably not going to hire people with records. But there could be another place that does painting for warehouses being built brand new, and there's nothing on site to steal. Therefore, that painting subcontractor is not going to be as concerned with somebody's record. So we're basically teaching the guys the crack house question. How do you approach going after the work? If it can successfully be traded for a rock at the crack house, avoid it. You're probably not going to get the job. If it's not going to be traded at the crack house, go after it, because that's not going to matter that you got a record or not. That's a couple of things there on a job and the job. Now I want to touch base just a little bit on one or a couple of things on sobriety. Sobriety, one of the deals we do is we, of course, work primarily within the steps, the 12 steps of a recovery program. We do add some other things to that as well too, but I'm the type person that as I've developed our curricula, I always want people to see what is the carrot. In other words, let's dangle the carrot out in front of them. Otherwise, we're doing something we don't really know why we're doing it. A good example with us is we look at, for example, the 5th step promises. As we're trying to point a guy through getting to the 5th step, we share with him, here's the 5th step promises that come true in people's lives who do a 5th step. One of them, for example, is we can look the world in the eye. And many people who've been in prison and jail have done some pretty deep, dark things. But if they tell that deep, dark secret in a 5th step, all of a sudden when they get through, they realize the weight of the world's come off their shoulders and they can look people in the eye now. They don't have to do all that shifting down. That is a physical truth, but there's an even higher spiritual truth, and that spiritual truth is this. Before, they look down on half the people in the world. Look at that fool, he did such and such. They're looking up at the other half. Oh, he thinks he's so good. And they don't fit in the world spiritually as an equal. Half the world's worse than them, half the world's better than them. If they don't fit in the world, it's a bad scenario. But after doing the 5th step, they're eyeball to eyeball with everybody in the world. No better than, no worse than. All of us equal under God. That is part of the 5th step promises. What we also do is we teach ways of how the steps and those 5th step promises came together. Because if a person gets that, many times they will receive what's being brought. To give you an example, Many people don't know this about the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the basic text of Alcoholics Anonymous. It was written by the first 100 or so alcoholics who got sober through AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, back in the 30s. And they were getting bombed with letters coming mainly through newspapers to them. Hey, we're out in Iowa. We want to get sober. How do we do it? How do we get our meetings up and started? And so they realized real quickly if they could write a book that it would work to send the book. And they developed the book not based upon one man's mind, two men's mind. They developed it based upon 100 people coming together. For example, in the 5th step promises, they got the group together before an old school blackboard, chalk, back when chalk was white and the blackboard was black. And they got 100 people who were sober together. They'd been through the steps. They said, today we're going to write the 5th step promises. And as they got ready to write the 5th step promises, basically it went like this. You guys take 25, 30 minutes, pray, meditate, think, contemplate, whatever you got to do. Jot down some things that came true in your life when you did a 5th step, that you believe came true in all of our lives, all 100 of us in here, and would come true in anybody who follows down the line who does a 5th step. 30 minutes later, the moderator comes back. Anybody got anything? One man lifts up his hand. I can now look the world in the eye. He looked around the rest of the room. Is this true of any of the rest of you? And every hand in the room went up. Every single hand in the room went up. If we wanted to be millionaires, would we read books by millionaires? You better believe we would. It'd be a wise thing to do. Same way with sobriety. These guys are simply trying to help people get and stay sober. And that's how those things came into being. So there's a couple of tracks that I've kind of expanded on what we might have in them. A job and the job, sobriety. The third thing I'd like to share with you is a little bit on reentry. What I mean by reentry is helping people reenter society coming out of a jail or incarceration facility of any kind. Federal prison, state prison, it wouldn't matter. But basically this, a couple of things that we deal with is how to develop home plans. Where can you go for safe, sober housing? Now, several people, like I say, we get several hundred calls, multiple hundred calls per year from people coming out of jail or prison that don't have a safe, sober place to stay. A lot of times they burn every bridge in the past. They could have legitimately made a change in their life, but now they come out and they got nowhere to go. Now, part of what we're sharing, and we're going to share in our DVD, is not just how you can find home plans in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, not just how you can find home plans in North Carolina. This development of a home plan could work anywhere. It could work anywhere. So this part could really be effective for those of you who are programmers who have to get people housing and have a place to live before they get out. We share a lot of things on there. Another thing is we deal with life skills. Now those were previously on that, the reentry part, we had some hard resources. Where can you find safe, sober places to stay? We also look at some life skills types of resources that people can have. And we share things, we call it keeping it simple. We call it the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid is what we call it. The KISS method for us. Keep it simple, don't try to get too complicated. Teach the guys how to have successful relationships. Doesn't matter if it's a marriage, being a parent, being a friend, being a business acquaintance. If we want to have successful relationships, we call it the walk on two legs. And those two legs are trust and service. Trust and service. Trust and service. Looks a little corny, but the guys get it. That if we're walking on these two legs, trust and service, our relationships will be successful. For example, I'm a dad. If I want a successful relationship with my two daughters, they have to trust me. They have to trust me. If they don't trust me, we haven't got a successful relationship. And they would tell you, if Daddy says it, he's going to deliver it. I'll never forget just the other day, I had a big meeting with an accountant that was doing some accounting for our 501c3, and it ran a few minutes late, about 5 minutes late. My daughter had asked me to come get her at 5 o'clock at school from debate. I'm driving down the road, I'm about 3 minutes out. I told her via text, I'm coming to get you, I'll be there to get you at 5 o'clock, because she asked me to come get her at 5. She's texting me at 5:02, where are you? The reason being, that was very unusual for Daddy not to deliver on what he said. And of course, I got there within about 1 minute later, and I said I was only going to be 3 minutes late, so I didn't bother contacting you. And of course, it showed me that she depends on my word. She knows that what her daddy says is going to come true when he says it. Now, I mistimed it a little bit in that particular case, but that's all right. My point being, trust is something that has to be there to be a good parent. It has to be in any successful relationship. The other leg is service. What are the needs? That's why we at Crossroads Reentry Ministries believe we are one of the best reentry organizations in the United States of America. Here's why. We don't start with this is what we do. We start with what are the needs of the people who we serve. What are the needs of the people who we serve? And if you catch that, that is the leg service. What are the needs? You want to be a great husband? You want to be a great wife? What are the needs of your spouse? You'll have a great relationship if you focus according to that. The God-honored needs of your spouse. It's amazing what goes on with those simple two things. So there's a little simple walk we teach the guys how to be successful on the outside with their relationships. So there you have it. That is the What Revisited. And now what I'd like to leave you with is this. Many of you will be interested in getting the DVDs, getting these DVDs. Now, remember there's 3 tracks. And what we generally would like to do is we don't mind getting you all 3 of the tracks. That would be a combined 5 DVDs from A Job, D Job, 8 DVDs for sobriety, and 4 DVDs for the reentry resources. That's 17 total DVDs. You could contact us and say, hey, Mr. Cloud, I'd like the entire set of all 3 tracks. That'd be 17 DVDs. Or for your particular curricula, you may be only interested in A Job and D Job and the reentry resources. You can order them like that. We typically ask, if possible, please order an entire track. So we will send them out in a set of either a track, 2 tracks, or 3 tracks. The question becomes, how do I get them, Mr. Cloud? Again, Jeff Cloud, you got 3 contact ways that you can contact me. Call me at 704-499-1332. Again, Jeff Cloud, 704-499-1332. We'll talk about it on the phone. You can write us at Crossroads Reentry Ministries, Post Office Box 861, Huntersville, North Carolina, 28070, excuse me. Again, Post Office Box 861, Huntersville, North Carolina, 28070. Or email me at 4clouds@bellsouth.net. Again, that's the number 4, clouds, like plural, puffy white things in the sky, at bellsouth.net. Make sure in the heading you put videos. If you'll let me know you need those, we will get those to you. Thanks for your time, and as I always like to conclude things, blessings to you.